Right, let's talk Sky Bet League One. Interesting weekend in which the teams in first to fifth all won, teams in 21st to 24th all lost. We have got a new side inside the playoff places in sixth, and that's AFC Wimbledon. I am joined by Don's head coach, Johnnie Jackson, to talk through this very interesting division and an interesting weekend of results. How you doing, Jacko?
Very well, Ali. Very well, mate. Thanks for having us.
2-1 win against Wycombe in the early game on Saturday. I was there. You were there. Your boys put in really strong first half, 2-0 up. Bugiel standing out with a brilliant headed goal and then a vintage bit of Bugiel play at the top of the pitch to set up Steve Seddon, who assisted him for his header. So those two very much on the score sheet and assisting each other. And then the game looked a bit different in the second half, but a 2-1 win. Must be very, very pleased.
Yeah, really good win. Really good win. Obviously, they was coming off the back of a couple of good wins. One in the league previous weekend. They had a good win in the cup in the week as well. Obviously, changed their manager, so it looked like the bounce was in full effect. So it was sort of it was a tricky game, tricky fixture on paper, knowing that was probably underachieving anyway. Change of manager, yeah, so look out for that. So to get the win was brilliant, and yeah, obviously you saw the game. It's like two completely different half of football. Thought first half we was as good as we've probably been so far this season with the ball. Got a couple of good goals, and then we was made to suffer in the second half. Obviously they've changed a few things and really come at us, and yeah, probably fair to say that we was hanging on a bit at times in the half. Yeah, although like don't think like I keep looking at it back, keeper ain't had like loads to do. Bish ain't had like too many saves to make stuff, but they was building up momentum, pressure, territory, and stuff like that. It was just about just trying to stay in there, stay in the game and get over the line really. So strange game really, two completely different halves of football, but job done.
That second goal was just great to watch and kind of, I thought, was a really nice reflection of Dons at their best, basically. Worked it in order to get settled in possession, and then really good ball into the channel from the Rhino to Big Omar. He sat Taylor Allen down with his brute force. The layoff to Seddon was great, and what a finish on the bounce from Steve Seddon. The defensive resilience and organisation and record of Wimbledon since the start of last season and through this season has been, a real bedrock of success. What about on the attacking end, Jacko? Because, clearly, in order to have a strong start to the season, 6 wins in your first 10 games, it's not just a case of keeping it tight at the back, but also making sure you can do damage as well. How have you approached that this season and trying to work on ways to score just like that goal?
Yeah, we're doing obviously a lot of work on the training ground. Like you're right, obviously last season's success was mostly down to our defensive structure being hard to beat. Obviously, conceded 10 less than the next team, I think, over the normal season, and won the last 4 games 1-0. So Matty Stevens' goals dried up after Christmas. So we sort of, I think we got over the line down in the main down to our defensive structure, and I knew that would have to be what we try and implement again this season. But you're coming up against better teams, you're going to concede more, you're going to give up more chances. So looking at ways as well that we can't just rely on that. So done a lot of work on trying to have not necessarily dominating possession. I mean, you would have seen us enough to know that we don't necessarily need the ball to win games of football all the time, but trying to sustain attacks, have more pressure in the opposition half, and just try and get it into our forward players. I mean, when you've got an Omar or someone like that on the pitch, you have to play to his strengths. Right? Obviously, bringing in a Hackford as well with that raw pace. So trying to utilise that. Matty Stevens has surprised everyone, I think, with the way that he's stepped up to the level. So done a lot of work on what we probably look like from maybe 15, 20 yards inside our own half going that way. We're not a team that overdoes it at the back with the goalkeeper and stuff like that. We want to get our more creative players on the pitch higher up. And we do a lot of work probably from sort of 60 yards out, if you like, going that way, if that makes sense. Um, so that goal that you're talking about is a great one because into midfield, little bit of interplay, Reeves, Smith, but then back out through the side centre halves, which in this system a lot of they end up being spare of quite a lot. So working on Johnson being able to find those sort of passes, Isaac Agundere, who's improved massively. They get a lot of ball in a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, so it's important that they become part of your attack as well. So we've looked at that sort of stuff, the relationship between them and the wing backs, and knowing when to go short and invite a press, when to go over, all stuff like that we've been just trying to drill on the training pitch really, without losing the defensive stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to be the team that ends up all right, all of a sudden you're scoring 3-4, but you're shifting a load at the other end, and the games become you know 3-4-3, 4-5-4, and it can go either way. Those sorts.
Not good for your ticker. That you got to try and avoid that, mate. I'm really interested in just specifically what you're saying with the outside centre backs there, getting a lot of touches in this system, and it's a really fascinating and like quite high stakes bit of cat and mouse, which it might not seem it when you're watching the game, but the way that you've talked about it there, and I'm just thinking that when Ryan or Isaac have the ball, and it's kind of on them to progress it or try and get it into Reeves to do so, but because he's a sort of single pivot as well, if they've spread out a bit, it is so important that they don't lose it. So it's not just the case of can you get a good pass forward, it's like you have to be absolutely sure you're not going to give that ball away, because then we've got a lot of spaces to cover and not a lot of men back, and that's obviously not where you're going to be most comfortable. So it's a really important in possession role, isn't it? That outside centre back.
Absolutely, yeah. They get a lot. They got a lot of touches of the ball when they are asked to start attacks or step in and join attack. Obviously, that leaves you a man down, and you hear a lot about back fives, like back threes, whatever, and some of the throwaway talk. You could like, oh, like back five defensive. Actually, it can be really attacking if you allow your left and your right centre halves to go and join the attack. But then that does leave you light. I mean, Wycombe's best moment, I thought, maybe in the first half, came when Johnson steps in, tries to leave a little ball for Stead, Bay gets cut out, and now they're attacking the space that he's left. So that is the jeopardy, and obviously we work on that and just make sure that if Johnson is stepping in, then the right centre half, Agundere or Harbottle, if he's there, they have to then be a little bit safer, if you like. And then you just become a back four as well, and that's out of possession. We ask our left and right centre halves to really go and engage pockets. If teams are playing tens, 2 10s, or eights really high, then it's on the centre half to go in and engage there as well. So then we just slide around and become a back four. We work a lot on, we call it shifting and sliding. If we do lose a defender into the midfield area, then we make sure we're round, become a back four, shift and slide, and just give up the opposite side of the pitch if you have to. It's just sometimes just like a numbers game. One goes in there, the others come round, and it's about trying to deny the opposition space, or if they're going to have space, make sure it's in areas of the pitch where not necessarily going to hurt you as much.
Really strong start to the season. One of the favourites to go down, and long old way to go. And the 4 relegation spots in League One is just brutal. But 6 wins out of 10 must be very, very pleasing. I mean, the interesting thing for me, watching the team is that, and I think that this is reflected in some of the other strong starters, is that you've got a consistent core of players who've played together for quite a long time now, and you can very visibly see the understanding that they have of each other's games. And I always think, like, I've played 6-a-side every Tuesday with the same blokes for 10 years, and like, our strength isn't that we're all good individually, it's that we all know exactly what everyone's going to do with and without the ball at any given time. So there's that, like, telepathy.
They still don't know what you're going to do, Ali.
And it struck me watching Dons is like, obviously recruited in the summer as every club does. You've basically got 3 starters that signed in the summer, and I would suggest those were enforced by departures of obviously Goodman in goal, and then the wing backs. So you got Nathan Asimwe, you got Steve Seddon, you got Nathan Bishop coming in. But otherwise, it's the guys that did the business for you last season. So not revolution coming up a level. And you've had 7 players that have started all 10 games this season, and another 2 that have started 9. So is that consistency something that you think, looking across the league, has been a big benefit for you?
Definitely, yeah. And it was one of the main things that we spoke about as soon as that Walsall game ended, really, that we needed to try our best to keep this group together because of how well they'd done, but also knowing where we would find ourselves resources wise, budget wise in this league. Wasn't, you're not going to be able to go out and get the best players or necessarily upgrade on what you've got, So it's about trusting the group that have got you there. Just obviously you need to add a few. No secret that we tried to keep Tilly. Obviously Goodman was a bit different because he wasn't our player. And they've all gone to the same league, but obviously different clubs, which obviously shows where we are, I suppose, resources wise. But so we just tried to be smart with our recruitment, bringing in Asimwe and Seddon and Bishop. We felt like they was not necessarily the same sort of player, but could do the same sort of job for the team, and making sure that we kept that spine right through. The defensive unit, Reeves, re-signing Alistair Smith and Marcus Brown was obviously a big thing for us because they wasn't, Smith wasn't our player, so to get him back and keep that continuity, that was really important. And probably, let's face it, Smith and Brown, we wouldn't have them if we hadn't gone up. So it was important that once we did, we got that promotion, that we really tried to get them boys back and just keep the core of the group together. So we managed to do that in the main. Like you say, lost the 3 players, but I think them being on not the goalkeeper obviously, but on the side felt less important. If we lose a Joe Lewis, say a Reeves, a striker, through the spine of the team, I think that would have affected us more. But yeah, we've managed to recruit well, and it's going well so far. But like you say, early doors, isn't it?
Yeah. We may get back to Dons at the very end, but for the sake of fans of other League One clubs, let's go through the rest of the league. And I know that when we first met doing TalkSport 2, I reckon about 7 years ago. And I know you fancy yourself as a bit of a pundit and an analyst, so you're not Johnnie Jackson, AFC Wimbledon head coach for the next half an hour or so. It's a really interesting division with some really interesting, league positions 10 games in. Bradford, top of the table. You've already played them this season. They beat you 3-2. They came up with you from League Two with Donny and Vale, who also started strongly with slightly lesser points returns as you and Bradford City. In this game, it looked to me like at 0-0 it was pretty tight actually, and Blackpool had a lot of openings on the break that they didn't turn into big chances, and when they did, they didn't take them. I think that sums up where they're at the moment, and everything's coming up Bradford City at the moment because there's Josh the Knife, your former player, getting on the ball, latching onto it right side of the box, getting a half a yard of space and smashing it into the far corner. What a genius positional change that was, whoever decided that Neufville should be playing wing back instead of higher up.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I couldn't believe that he hadn't played there before. Really, if you look at Josh and his attributes, his game, you've never seen someone with an engine like it. He can run up and down all day long, and obviously he's quick. So he's got the winger element to his game, but also the work that he gets through defensively for the team, his willingness to do it, but also his physical capability to get back and help defend just makes him sort of the ideal wing back for me. And one thing that me and him spoke about a lot was numbers, as he gets into unbelievable positions, and then you speak about assists and goals, and I always felt like that there was more to come from him. So to see him scoring is obviously Graham must be a better coach than me because he's getting more goals than he ever got from me. But
What do you
it's
make
great to
of
see.
Bradford so far this season?
Really good, really good. And again, a lot of continuity in their team. Very, very well structured. Um, they've got that. It's an unbelievable place to play football.
Mm.
Always enjoy going there as a manager, as a player. Um, but when it gets going, it is some place, and it obviously for a good while, for a few years, it wasn't. It it can be a strength and a weakness, right? And for a few years, it was a weakness. Now they've got that place going, um, and the crowd play a massive part. And um, yeah, he's got them playing some really good football. And they mix it up well. They can play, but they can put it on you. They've got really good options, top end of the pitch. Um, pointing and Bartovic, I think it was on Saturday, just behind that. They've both got goals in it and create. And you've got Swan scored a lot of goals. Cook not even come back yet. Humphreys is an option for them, so they've got really, really good attacking options. And yeah, I'm liking what Graham's gone and done there.
Yeah, incredible start to the season continues for Bradford and for Stevenage. They went to Orient. They won by 3-2. These two teams have developed a nice, tasty beef over the last few seasons, and this is another good chapter of it. Obviously, came up together from League Two. Richie Wellens and Steve Evans got quite spicy on a few different occasions, and even though it's now Revs in charge of Stevenage, Richie still clearly has a special fondness, if you like, for Stevenage. He was not happy after this one. Connolly put Orient ahead. Nice move, nice finish. Harvey White is having a fantastic couple of weeks, scored from range again, and then set up both of Stevenage's goals from set pieces. Header from Freestone, header from Big Pidge. He then came off with a nasty head injury, and Orient immediately scored from a set piece without him on the pitch. But Stevenage saw it out for a 3-2 win. 22 points from 9 games for Stevenage. 2.44 PPG is an unbelievable start to the season. I know you haven't played them yet, but from what you've seen, JJ, what do you put that down to?
The coaching again. We played them in the
It's true.
what do you call it?
In the
What's it
trophy.
called now? In the trophy. Let's call it the
Yeah.
trophy. And Revs actually played like fairly strong team. Uh, and yeah, on reflection, I wish I had too, because they added it to us that night. It was 5-1, and honestly, it could have been a few more. Um, and they're well drilled. But they got quality as well. Like Harvey White scored from distance that night. Got a great left foot. He's adding goals to his game. That delivery. So they're as Richie said in his post match, they are a nuisance to play against. They keep you honest. They put it on you every time the ball, a dead ball within your final third is coming into your box. Penalty box entries. They got really good delivery, like you've seen for the 2 goals. White's delivery, and then they've got lads that want to go and head the ball. Johnnie's been doing it for years for them, and I think Richie said that they're the best set piece team in the league, and that's been the case for a number of years before, under Steve, and then Rev's just continuing that on. Obviously, he worked with Steve as well, so that makes sense. And yeah, just a really big, physical, strong team, but they're not just that as well. They've got a little bit of quality. Got good players. I'm not sure that he played on Saturday, but the winger, you'll have to help me out with this one.
It was Kemp. It was Kemp. It was Lubala. It was Chem Campbell. But then they've got Phoenix Patterson. They've got Roberts as well, who's been there a long time.
It was Patterson that done the damage against us. Really, really bright young winger who cut his side on his right foot and
So they've got, but that's that extra dimension, isn't it? That maybe that they've added, which is, you can't just be the same team for like 3 years. I think that would really work for anyone, whatever style you're playing. I think that's what stands out to me. Even if they're still getting loads of goals from set pieces and causing teams problems with direct play when teams can't cope with it, I think they've got that extra dimension. And I think with Wellens' post-match, I mean, he's always good for a post-match interview, win or lose. He is an absolute quote machine. And I love that about him. But I think it's fair to say the Stevenage fans, he said a lot of stuff after this game. I think the thing that probably rankles Stevenage fans, who are, as you can imagine, pretty in love with Alex Ravel, who's a great guy and has got them playing unbelievably well. this suggestion that he's just doing what Evans did before, I don't think the Stevenage fans like that, and I can understand why. And he's been in charge for, since the start of last season now. So I think that is the sort of thing that didn't feel like a particularly fair suggestion. There's something else that I found really interesting, which is about style of play, and this is still a massive hangover from the Wellens Evans beef. But Wellens basically saying, we are trying to be different. We're not just trying to win football matches. We're trying to develop players who we can sell for millions of pounds. We spoke about set plays. That's what they do. They've done it for 3 or 4 years. I don't know why Sky put us on, because every game is like that. You should play football with a helmet on. And what was it else? Yeah, we're trying to be different. This suggestion that, and it is broadly true that if trying to develop players to sell them in order to fund future transfers and build squads, if that can be more of a priority for some clubs than other clubs, and that probably does have a bit of an impact either on recruitment and who you bring in, and also on style of play. So I do understand what he's saying, but of course in the cauldron of a post-match interview and with, all the banter online that flies around, I feel like you just can't really win when you go down that route as a manager.
No, it's hard, look, and I think a lot of that that come out was probably frustration with his own situation. Maybe the fact that we don't know what the internal stuff that goes on at Orient. There might be pressure to play younger players, to sell, to develop, and that might be a frustration. Listen, I don't know, so I don't want to speculate, but there is pressures. We have it at our club. We have to try and get kids through the academy into the team so that we can go on and sell. And you've seen that happens up and down the country. So, and I'm sure Stevenage have got to try and do that as well. So, but then the mic gets put in front of you when you're seething that you've got beat, and and Richie's obviously animated in his stuff. So it's probably frustrations around the game and the goals that they conceded, and he did speak about that. It wasn't just dressing that up, but then also maybe some internal frustrations that we don't know about. And in all honesty, you're probably better off doing your press conference on a Monday if you could, when you're taking stock. But you get the mic's put in front of you, and sometimes, and I'm not saying that he didn't, but sometimes you say the wrong thing or what's not appropriate at the time, and it can come across disrespectful to the opposition. And I'm sure he didn't mean that, but there's obviously a little bit of history with them as clubs, like you said. So, and then there's a bit of that coming out. But
I feel like you've done quite well to avoid beef so far. I think I'd have noticed if I felt like you'd been drawn into any sort of media tit for tat battles or even some touchline spats. I think you've done pretty well so far.
Yeah, my chairman told me that they weren't going to pay my fines this season, so I got a couple of fines last season that the club helped me out with. So I want to try and keep the money in my pocket. So yeah, no, I'm just, sometimes you lose it on the side and you can't help it, right? That's the nature of the game. But other times, if you want your players to be calm, then you have to portray calm as well, even though you don't always feel it. And sometimes you can't because the emotions of it is getting you. But I try to be seen as being steady, but also passionate. You want your players to feel like you're there with them and in the game, but at the same time, you can't be. It's that old one where you're screaming on the pitch and your face is red and contorted, and you're telling everyone to be calm, and you're the least calm fella in the stadium. So it's just trying to portray what you want your players to portray, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess try where possible to ignore whatever the opposing manager is doing in their dugout, because clearly the behaviours that you all exhibit sometimes because of the pressure of the situation can end up causing problems, and I guess it's just worth desperately trying to ignore that. Lincoln beat Posh 3-0, another team that have just started so well. You played Lincoln and beat them 2-0. In fact, they have been leading at half-time in 9 of their 10 games this season, which seems insane. And you're the only team that they weren't beating at half-time, and they got a first-half red card in that game, which obviously made it difficult for them. Just getting contributions from lots of different parts of the pitch as well. Adam Reach scored a nice free kick in this game. He then set up Derikwa for a nice sort of fullback-to-fullback goal. Some quite big posh chances, if I'm honest, at 1-0 and 2-0. So this wasn't an absolute thumping of a 3-0 away win. But frankly, any away win where you win by 3 clear goals is pretty worthwhile. And it's the way that Skubala is getting Draper and Collins and Street and House, who's a bit of a hybrid kind of attacking and midfield player over the last few years, but 4 very attacking, almost number 9 types really in terms of profile. And he's got a Bikwu to come off the bench as well, who scored when Posh let a long throw bounce. Absolute cardinal sin. 3-0 win for Lynx. What a start for them as well.
Yeah, I think they've been really, really good. Like you say, I think that's the only game that they've lost so far, perhaps, when we beat them, and they did go down to 10. And honestly, before that, very, very tight. It was one of those games you felt like was going to be decided by an odd goal, probably. And then the red card did change it a little bit. But very, very good set up from them. Like you say, they've got those options, top end of the pitch. Sometimes it's a 4-4. It's a bit of an old school 4-4-2. Sometimes it's one of the forwards dropping in as a 10, but often it's 2 forwards up there, hack it out wide with a bit of pace, and I think he's used Street off the side as well at times to provide some pace. So really well drilled, variety to their play. Again, probably a team that's not reliant on having the ball all the time, and are happy to go direct because they've got good options, top end of the pitch. Strong on set pieces as well. So yeah, it's one of them teams that you look at the result, Lincoln won again. Like they keep doing it, how they keep doing it. But then you see the goals that they've got the quality. Like Reach's goals, brilliant. You know, there's not too many players in the league that can go and do that. And really well worked second one. And then it's coming back in fashion, isn't it? The old long throw, stick it in the box and make teams defend. You know, by getting penalty box entries, you create a little bit of carnage. You let it bounce. Cardinal sin, as you said. Goalkeeper goes for a little wander, and the big one's got the easiest of tackles. But just by asking those questions, you know, and having that variety to their play, is obviously it's boding really well for them. I'm really impressed with what they're doing because probably on paper you wouldn't say necessarily flashy names and things like that, but very well drilled, very well coached, and it's looking good for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically from a neutral's point of view, it's just exactly what you want in terms of the start to the season. You want teams who were not expected to challenge starting really, really strong. And the nature of the league, in any league, is that by the end of the season, some will likely have dropped away and some may have maintained it, and others will come from deep and finish strong. And often it's those with the deepest squads and the most quality that maybe sort of start clicking a bit late on. But clearly, you know, we've got Luton in 10th, Bolton in 11th, Argyle in 15th, Orient made the playoffs last season, 17th, Wycombe made the playoffs last season, 20th, Blackpool just missed out on the playoffs, 22nd. So, like, in terms of just sort of, you've basically just thrown all the balls up in the air in League One, and kind of fresh start feels really like a fresh, interesting division. Cardiff are a part of that as well because they came down from the Championship, have taken a really interesting approach under Brian Barry Murphy. Won at Plough Lane, which is not easy to do with a late winner, and won at Wigan, which has not been easy to do this season. Last weekend, a 2-0 win. Goal in the first half from NG, and then the second in injury time, a penalty from Salek. Some nice build-up play I saw in the highlights here from Cardiff, which is kind of a big calling card of BBM teams once they get going. But actually, it's probably on the defensive end that I'm most impressed here, in that Wigan, at their best at home this season, have been so dynamic, with threats from wide and threats at the top of the pitch, threats coming from deep in midfield like Wright and Weir, to restrict them in the way that Cardiff did, while also being a team that's looking to be ambitious and expansive on the ball as well. That's hard to achieve and very, very impressive for me.
Yeah, for me, probably the best team that we've come up against, I would say. The team that we got thumped at Bolton, but there was a couple of moments of madness in there that I know you commented on. Yeah, we went down to 10 and then in the end 9. Bolton were very good on the day, but I've got to say that I think in the first half against when we played Cardiff, it felt it almost felt like you were at a cup game, you're playing a team from a level higher. We couldn't, yeah, they just dominated and we couldn't really get up to the ball and they moved it so quick that they caused us a lot of problems. Um, we stayed in the game and probably in the end should have got something. But for me, as far as um, the difficulty to set up against them would be the team that stood out for me and just some of the individual talent that they've got. I mean, um, I think he's a favourite of yours, and he but Colwell for me probably one of the best players in the league. Just quality, yeah, quality from the higher level, and so that Brian Barry Murphy's got them playing some lovely stuff and patterns and um, variety to what they do, but then they've also got that individual brilliance from players like
Mm.
that. Robinson obviously is a tried and tested centre forward who scores goals. So um,
Is that when you say
yeah,
challenging to know to decide basically how to approach the game? Is that like basically how much to engage higher up and how much to sit off and what the trade offs are between those two things?
yeah, basically. So obviously being at home as well, we wanted to get out, we wanted to be front foot, get after it, and we tried to do that, and we couldn't. They was moving it too quick and slick really for the first probably half an hour anyway. Um, and actually, once we sort of retreated and accepted that they was going to have a lot of possession and allowed that to happen, we grew into the game more. So probably, yeah, from my point of view, it's sometimes resisting the urge just because you're at home. Maybe you have to respect the opposition and accept that they are going to have all the ball, but that doesn't matter. Um, just try and limit the space. But Colwell roaming all over the place and picking up pockets. A left 10. Next minute he's a right 8, and he's got that license to go and do what. So then it's restricting the spaces that you can pick it up rather than being necessarily like we're going to get after it and go man for man. Sometimes it's accepting that they're good. They're a good team and they're well coached. And if you get the press wrong, they'll hurt you. And they could have scored a couple. They didn't, and we stayed in the game and probably should have got something. But there's gonna be games. They got two at Wigan, and that ain't easy to do. But they're gonna get threes or fours, I think, against teams that perhaps get their setup wrong against them. Um, so yeah, there's been teams that have had success as well. Port Vale at home did get after the ball, especially in the first half, and had a little bit of joy. So because they're a young team, it won't always go their way, and there will be times where they will come unstuck a little bit. But that's where I know Brian pretty well, and he'll stick to his guns, and they'll continue to do what they do. Um, but also, there will be an expectancy that they've got to win games and be at the top of the league as well.
Yeah, scoring 4 away from home, not easy. Argyle achieved it at Burton. 3 wins in 4 now for Argyle. When you think about some of the things that we saw in the first couple of games of the season where they looked all at sea, particularly defensively, you're starting to see, I think, a couple of late window additions like Mitchell at the back, Ross as well, defender, and of course Laurent Talai up top has been a favourite of ours for a while now. Scored 2 here, but others like Ibrahim and Boateng in midfield starting to really grow into their roles there and all performing really well. And Boateng in particular drew an amazing save from Brad Collins, then set up Talai for his first goal. Looks like a really interesting midfield profile, Boateng, as does Ibrahim, to be honest with you. Hosseini scored the second, looked at least a yard offside to me, but not spotted and stabbed in. And then Talai in the second half with his second really nice take. He's had a start to life at Argyle, which is, it's very encouraging in that he has scored 3 and 6 in the league, 2 in the trophy as well. So 5 goals already in an Argyle shirt. And he's had some big chances that he's missed as well. But, I'm kind of encouraged by the fact that he's an all-action striker in a team that seems to be ready to create chances for him. And, you can't guarantee your striker's going to finish every other chance they have. But someone like that who you can be confident is just an absolute machine when it comes to, all aspects of his play. He's going to be in the right places as well as offer plenty outside the box. I just really like him as a player.
Me too. Yeah, me too. When they signed him, that was an eye-catching one, and I think they give a few quid for him as well. So obviously, that comes with that expectation. What you want when that happens is to get scoring as quickly as possible for there not to be a build up. When's he going to score? And he's done exactly that. And I'm not surprised, to be honest. I liked him when it was at Aldershot. We were sort of one of a number of clubs I think that was looking at him at that time. And then he went to Port Vale, 4 goals there, and he's just continued to improve and scores different types of goals. And looking at the goals from Saturday, some really well worked ones. If you see a team get into the byline and flashing it across and the strikers there getting the tap in, that normally means that they're doing a lot of things well. To get your set up right to get into those sort of positions of the pitch is what you look for as coaches. So some really well worked goals. You want your number 9 to be in the middle of the post, ready to put the finishing touches. The first one, yeah, listen, he's not going to miss that, is he? But he's there, and that's what you want from him. But he's also, he can create one for himself. He can get half a yard, and he's a good finisher. So, and he's got some energy about his play. He looks like he's confident and obviously growing into that team. And it seems to be clicking from now. They scored 4. They could have had a few more as well from watching the highlights. So yeah, he's an exciting player, very very good player for the level, and I'm sure he'll score a lot of goals.
Not many ponytails in the game either, so that's good to see. Yeah, big win for Argyle. And look, they might have nicked Tolai off Port Vale, but in fairness, they're not missing him too much. They won 2-0 at Barnsley, who were previously in the top 6. You lot have taken their 6th spot for now. And this Vale performance was very impressive, going to Oakwell. A team that we've described as one of the most exciting attacking teams in the league. No shots on target for Barnsley in this game. And at the top of the pitch for Vale, even without Tolai, Devante Cole and DeJean Brown, who's on loan from Derby, an absolute menace. Brown in behind Cole as well, doing really well. Brown setting up Gabriel for the first goal, and then Ryan Crosdale fired in the second for a really strong win for Vale. That midfield of Byers, Crosdale, Garrity, I think just gives you a lot of what you want, probably as a manager in midfield, in terms of both like what they can do on the ball, without the ball, and I guess just experience in nous as well. Really nice for Darren Moore to have. And they are, part of a group of 4 promoted sides like yourselves, Donny and Bradford, who, after, to be fair, a slow start from Vale, and now up in 16th. They've won 3 in a row. A real win, this one, Jacko, a real win for the underlying numbers obsessives, because Vale, after 8 games with no wins, was still, if you're someone that likes things like your XGs, looking like they were at least competitive in every game and just hadn't been executing in both boxes. And then they squeeze out 3 wins in a row. And yeah, you can either be surprised by that, or you can say, you know what, this was coming.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was coming, and some of the performances were good. Like a little touch on the Cardiff game earlier, a bit earlier, and they deserved to win that game. I felt really really strong performance. Darren Moore will be really pleased that the fact that they limited Barnsley to what they did as well. We talk about the goals and the attacking options that they've got, and they have. Rosedale's goal was a brilliant goal. We know he can do that. But to limit a Barnsley team who are very, very adept at creating chances and quite sort of free scoring, free flowing, if you like, to limit them to no shots on target is excellent. So he'll be particularly pleased with that. And he would have trusted his group. He wouldn't have panicked too much. He's an experienced manager. He's got experienced players. Like for me, Byers in there is just keeps everything not always calm, because he got a red card 2 weeks ago, didn't he? But he keeps them ticking. Very very good in possession. Very vocal. Very organised. For me, he was a big part of what got him the promotion in the end last season. Just having that know-how and that experience in there, with some real energy around him as well, I think is that's why he plays every week. That's why he's their captain. So they got some good experience, Darren Moore would have seen enough in this game where he would have been trusting his team's performances, knowing that they kept churning them out, that it would eventually turn into wins, and to go for Barnsley and win 2-0 like I say, limit them to very little is that's a really strong performance and result.
Yeah, Huddersfield beat Exeter 1-0, back to winning ways for Huddersfield. Not an easy game for them here, but it is Exeter's fourth defeat in a row. It's their worst start at this level since 2011-12, and it was another loose bit of play in midfield that got punished, punished beautifully, we should say, by Castledine, cutting in and finding the top corner from the left side of the box. A former Wimbledon academy kid, I believe, who, as a Chelsea youngster, has always been considered someone with great talent. And I think we're probably seeing that Huddersfield will benefit from being the ones to go. Yeah, don't worry too much if you had a tough time on loan at Shrews last season, because everyone had a pretty tough time with Shrews last season. We'll stick you in a really good attacking team at League One level, and we'll get the benefit from that. And I think we saw that with his winning goal here. 22 shots for Huddersfield, but only the one on target. So they really owed a lot to Castledine's execution. It was an absolutely brilliant goal. Lee Grant in at Huddersfield. Jacko, I guess from your point of view, I think you're the 10th longest serving. Well, I know you are. I looked it up before the show. You're the 10th longest serving. Don't know why I'm playing all cool. The 10th longest serving manager in the EFL. But of course, Wimbledon was your first permanent feet under the table, shall we say, head coach role after a stint at Charlton as well. And I guess you must always look around your cohort of managers in the league that you're in, and someone like Lee who's coming in, having been a coach elsewhere and getting his opportunity to lead things. You must watch that with interest.
Yeah, it was a really interesting appointment. I've known Lee, I played with Lee years ago at Derby briefly, and known him for a long time and seen him part of various coaching setups, but didn't know that he, harboured ambitions to actually be a head coach manager. So that it was quite a surprising one for me. And obviously, you don't see too many goalkeepers go into that role. So again, that gives it another dynamic. But he carries himself well. He speaks really well. You can imagine that he's sort of very impressive. When he goes in to interview for a job like that, and it's a big job with big expectations. But really good players, got them playing good style of football. Possession based, but break on you really quickly as well, as we've seen with a goal. What a great goal! Probably my favourite goal over the weekend from the league. Defensively, Exeter will be disappointed. You can't let him come inside there, but you got to try and keep him on the outside. But it's difficult when a player's as talented as he is to always keep him where you want, but shift it onto his right and fires that top corner. Great goal, worthy of winning any game, really. But my other former teammate, Josh McGuinness, will be disappointed with his miss. I think at 0-0, actually, to give him the lead. Brought it down, brought down a sort of a cross really, really well. I've never seen him take a touch like that before. Plucked it out of the air like Bergkamp, and then missed it like Josh McGuinness. But that was a big moment in the game. But yeah, Huddersfield, been impressed with what I've seen. We haven't come up against them yet, but been really impressed with what I've seen from them so far. They look like they've got a few different ways to hurt you, and like you say, they've got that individual quality that Castledine showed.
Yeah, Luton Donny was a 1-0 win for Luton. This is a game against two teams that you've already played this season. You beat Donny 2-1. You lost 1-0 to Luton on opening day in very tough circumstances with Rhino's own goal after a good performance. Donny were at Spurs in midweek, weren't they? So I think we've seen, it's a small sample size, but the teams that have gone to big clubs in the Carabao Cup have generally struggled afterwards, playing a couple of days later. Grimsby, for example, their two defeats in League Two have both come after cup exploits. It's 3 straight defeats in a row for Donny, so good start to the season, but just slowed down a little bit. I noticed that they made a change in goal, which I think George had predicted last week. Lo Tutala's had a tough few games, a couple of basic errors, and Lawler came in. Couldn't do much to save Luton's goal in the first half, but then made an incredible penalty save to keep it to 1. And I think Luton looked pretty good for it first half, JJ, but maybe a bit like your own game on Saturday. It was pretty nervy in the second half, defending that single goal lead. One poor touch from the Donny striker, Olansanya, let them off the hook. He'd have been well placed to equalise. I think there was one off the post as well, or I might have dreamt that up. But yeah, talk to me about
Yeah,
Luton
to
and
have a
Donny.
chance right at the end as well. To
Molyneux,
equalise.
yeah,
Molyneux, yeah, sorry, his left foot, yeah.
post.
Yeah, I think it'll be, for Matt Bloomfield, he'd have been disappointed that they weren't further ahead the way they played in the first half. They got their goal, um, and they had a few more chances. Obviously, they get the penalty as well. Wells misses the penalty, but they misses the penalty. That is one of the that's one of the best penalty saves you're gonna see. You
Yeah,
always talk about missing the penalty, but I don't think he's done too much wrong there. Wells, an unbelievable save from the keeper, and fair play to Grant for putting him in. But those just going back to the midweek exploits, that it is difficult. As much as it's brilliant for the club that they get the opportunity to go to Spurs, but then you're 2-0 down after 10 minutes and probably getting a chase in, and the game ends, and you're on a big high, and then obviously you're down in London on a Wednesday night. You got to get back, and then they're travelling again back down to Luton. So physically, it could take a lot out of you. It gives you obviously much less preparation time for a team like Luton, and maybe there's something to that, to their slow start, but they grew back into the game. Um, Obviously, Grant would have got into them at half time, and second half they was a lot better. And just listening to his post match, I think he was disappointed in his team that they didn't show that belief from the start, because he'll be thinking that they could have got something there. And I had a similar feeling really that after the game when we played them, although I felt like we should have got a draw out of it, and bizarre circumstances, but um, probably gave them a little bit too much respect early on, and it was only that you realise that you're in the game, um, and they're not well beaters. They can be got at, and I think that's probably what Grant's frustration was, that they started slow and maybe give them a bit too much respect early on, and then they grew into the game. So, but yeah, Luton, you can't. You always remember how the game finished, and Grant will be saying we should have got a draw from that. Bloom's will be saying, well, we should have been further ahead, and the game should have been put to bed, because they was really good in the first half. So, important win for them. Obviously, there's a real sort of pressure and expectation on them to be top end of the league. So, sometimes the manager will be going, right, 1-0 goal from a set piece, that'll do me. I'm happy with that. And, Naismith could do that. He's a threat from those situations. A good delivery from Talbot. So, um, yeah, it's a good win, because I know Donny have lost a few on the bounce now, but they're a good team. They're a good team, and they're well coached and well drilled. So, big win for Luton.
absolutely. Big one for Northampton as well. Beat Bolton 2-0. That's their fourth win in 5 games, Northampton, on a really, really good run after a slow start. And it's another club that's contributing to just a really interesting start to the season from a neutral standpoint, in that alongside yourselves are one of the favourites for the drop. But beating Bolton is a hell of a statement. I mean, some of the chances that Bolton missed at 0-0, I'm sure Schumacher was pretty angry with that. In particular, a Burstow chance that he missed when very well placed. And then Cam McGeehan did what Cam McGeehan does, absolutely thumping header. Absolutely love McGeehan and the contributions that he makes to this Northampton side in an attacking sense. Kozia Dewberry has been the star of the pod in League One so far this season, but giving away a pen, which Hoskins had saved initially, scored the rebound, and Northampton win 2-0. So you must be looking at Cobblers and going, yeah, you know what? Like us, you guys unfancied at the start of the season, but finding ways to win football matches, that's a great way to start the season.
Yeah, definitely unfancied, and obviously getting start brilliantly the first few games, but to win 4 out of 5 in this league is, that's some feat, and to get that result against Bolton as well, like for me, like that Cardiff, probably the best week come up against Bolton, certainly gave us a bit of a hiding as well on the day, and that day was impressive. And then Kozia Dewberry, probably the best winger, certainly one of the best wingers in the league. You got Gow off the other side as well, who's not far behind, and Burstow's been in the goal, so that is a hell of a result against a good team. They missed some chances. Burstow should obviously score, and you would expect him to, and he does. But it's staying in the game. Kev's obviously got them in a place now where they're confident. He gives McGee and that license to get forward and go and join the attack, sort of as a right 10, right 8, whatever you want to call it. But he's got that license to go and join, and he's as good as anyone in this league. When you're arriving on the end of crosses, that's who you want. And he's done that. He's done that well. Hoskins got kind of history of scoring goals, although done it at the second attempt from the pen. But he's got them going, and they'll be playing on that. Everyone thought we was going to go down, or favourites to go down, and I'm sure he'll be playing on that, and just keep surprising a few people. Keep doing what we're doing, try and go about our business in a quiet way. But it's very when you get results like that, people notice and they turn heads, and yeah, but everyone's going to know that when you go there now that's a tough game. Or when they come to you, they're not going to roll over, and they've got players that can hurt you as well.
One of my big theories is that you shouldn't be allowed to score the rebound of a penalty that you have saved in during a game. I think they need to change that. Like, penalties are overpowered anyway. The whatever 78% chance on average that it gives you of scoring a goal, sometimes for infringements that don't feel like they should be punished that way. And I think that would be just one way of balancing it slightly, because you've got a free shot a goal against the goalkeeper, and I think if he keeps that out, that should just be, dead ball. Cheers, well done. I don't know.
Does it skew your XG metrics as well? Al? Do they get the penalty XG and the rebound XG for that?
That's a good point. Maybe that's why I don't like it. The best models would take that into account and wouldn't say, oh, that was 1.6 XG in one go, because that is literally impossible. But yeah, I mean that is a secondary reason. It's not because of that. I am a numbers nerd, but it's not because of that. I just think, I don't know. I just think if you can't score a pen, don't just have another go at it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I've never really thought about it, to be honest, but and it'll never be brought in.
You've got more important things to worry about. Yeah, but, you've got a proper job.
No, you're right. And sometimes it's the ones where, like if you get a dodgy handball where someone's got to cross it down the side of the box and it hits someone's arm. It's like, do they deserve a goal for that? Like, or the opportunity? They get the opportunity to score, and from 12 yards, yeah, that should be enough, really. And then if they can't do that, they get another crack at it. I understand your logic, but I wouldn't expect that to be brought in anytime soon now.
All right, mate. Well, maybe they'll extend the playoffs eventually, and then you could finish 8th and get promoted. That would be good, wouldn't it? Mansfield beat Rotherham 2-1. Same scoreline when you played Rotherham as well. They went ahead through Jordan Hugill from the spot. They hit the bar through a Benson free kick. And Matt Hamshaw will be absolutely fuming. This has to be... There's obviously loads of bad ways to lose football matches, but from being in front, conceding a goal where you've just switched off and a quick throw has caught you out, literally just threw it down the line to Roberts, who finished into the far corner, and then to concede a set piece, albeit a beautiful cross from Lewis and a powerful finish. Dwyer with his first touch, having literally trotted onto the pitch before that set piece. It's got to be absolutely sickening. And on top of that, you've had some great runs like you're on at the moment, promotion obviously, but you must know what it's like when you're in a tough spot as well and those things go against you.
Yeah, you've been in them runs where you just feel the world to get it, And that's how, if he had any hair, Matty, he'd be pulling it out, wouldn't he? Like, they get ahead in the game, and then the free kick's so unlucky, underside of the bar and out, to go 2 up, puts them in a great position in the game. And then it's when you're on them runs, that's when you start getting nervous. As soon as that goal goes in the equaliser, the atmosphere in the ground would have changed, and it started to feel the pressure. And that's when, as a coach, you want your players to be calm and not make rash decisions. But pressure does things like that. You give away a silly free kick down the side of the box in the last minute, and it's almost like you know what's coming when you're in one of them ruts. You know what's coming, and then they make a change. Dwyer's just come onto the pitch, so maybe he's not got an allocated marker and stuff like that. There's a bit of randomness, obviously, at that stage of the game. and you need your experienced players to either organise, a little bit of luck, but they get they get a good delivery, and he scored goals throughout his career. Dwight, since he's come back to Mansfield, but when he was in America, scored bundles as well. So he could finish. Didn't have loads to do. It's a great delivery, but from Rotherham's point of view, it'd be like, here we go again. It is really tough when you're in them moments. For the coach, and you need your players to sort those sort of situations out on the pitch at times. Just see that through, um, and to take the point, stop the run of defeat or the rot, if you like, whatever. But couldn't quite do it.
Yeah, big for Mansfield that they went 4 without a win before that. For Rotherham, 7 points from 9. A really slow start to the season for them, and their wins were 1-0 at home to Exeter, and 2-1 against Vale on opening day, where got ahead early on and then were really up against it. So just not a strong start to the season for them, either results or performances wise, and work to do there. Finally, Stockport drew 1-1 with Reading. Carl Wootton stabbed home to put Stockport ahead. He's got more goal involvements than any other League One player this season. 5 goals, 3 assists. I imagine as you've got Omar, and you must appreciate the work that a player like Wootton and Omar Bugle do for their team on a physical level and a focal point level, quite aside from goal scoring. So for him to have 5 goals and 3 assists already is a hell of a thing, really. And then Stockport, with plenty of chances to go 2 up, didn't kill the game. And in the end, Reading scored. They didn't have many attacks in the game, many good chances, but it's a beautiful goal. Raking pass from Charlie Savage. Matt Ritchie playing it inside to Jack Marriott. Quality players doing quality things, JJ, and that's a point shared.
Yeah, I'd say that's my second favourite goal of the weekend. The first one, obviously individual bit of brilliance, puts you in the top corner, but the speed and the whole action, the counter, if you want to call it that, Savage's ball, brilliant out to the wing. Obviously I'm a lefty, so that one particularly caught the eye. That big raking diag, and then winger gets down the side, across the face of the goal. Who do you want on the end of that? You could pick one player in League One, probably a Marriott. So you go from that end of the pitch, I think in 3 passes, bang, in the back of the net. Great goal, different way to score. Like you say, Stockport probably should have been out of sight before that, but that 1-0 with a Jack Marriott on the pitch, if he's going to get a sniff, then he's going to take it. So there'll be room to miss chances there, but a great goal to get a really good point.
And let's just finish by chatting to you about being a football manager. George and I played foot golf with you up in Barnet, probably longer ago now than any of us would like to accept. And as part of that, because you're still playing at the time, or maybe you're assistant coach at Charlton, I can't remember the exact timeline. You've done everything since we started the pod, basically, from captaining, playing, coaching, assistant managing, interim managing. And I'll never forget us sitting down next to the shabby 8th green or whatever it was and saying, look, Johnny, what are your ambitions? Do you fancy being a head coach? And I remember you saying, I have to do it. Like I have to do that. And it was really powerful seeing that level of kind of ambition and determination. And obviously, I kind of have that in my own way in my little world, and it's a very powerful thing. But things at that stage were obviously up in the air because it's a ridiculous industry, and being a manager is like the job in the world with the worst job security. So you sit here over 3 years in with Dons, and you really have experienced a lot in that time, highs and lows. How do you reflect on 3 years now, Johnnie Jackson, the gaffer?
Yeah, a mad 3 years, really. I feel like I've had a sort of crash course in football management. If you include my time at Charlton as well, in that obviously caretaker, then interim, then permanent, and then sacked, and then into a new job within 2 weeks. So it's probably a sort of a crazy 3-4 years that I've had, and I've loved it. It's a crazy job. Like the highs are unbelievably high, and the lows for me anyway are pretty low. And just the jeopardy of everything that's involved. I've already had a stacking when I felt like I shouldn't. I had to dust myself down, get over that, look for a new opportunity. And obviously, my first season was really, really tough with a new group, and there was some times where I thought that yeah, you might not get through that, and then you're thinking, right, what now? Where do you go from that? And obviously, managed to turn it around and have success, and sort of, I think I've done sort of maybe over 200 games now around that, so actually got a lot of experience and to get the success as well. There's one thing just having the games, but what you really need to do is get promotions under your belt, get that on your CV. Um, you know, there's different things that clubs want. Man, took over a Charlton struggling team, sort of got them into a relatively safe position. So, you took a team from the bottom and got them further up, and then you took over a relegated team and had the troubles with that. And now you took a team and got them promoted. So starting to have done different things with different teams, which is nice. At the end of the day, I just all I want to do is win. I just love winning and I hate losing. And that's what I strive to do. And you just want to obviously you want to keep trying pushing and see how far where it can take you. I'm still massively ambitious. Yeah, I needed to do it. I've done that now, but that's not me. Relaxing and patting myself on the back like I want more. I want more success because you was there that day at Wembley. That's why you do it. Right? That's why you love it. Nothing could compare to those sort of moments. So you have to go through a lot of hurt to get there. Believe me. And when you sat at home on a Saturday night, egg on your way, it's not nice. But you have to show resilience and get ready for Monday morning and just preparing the team. And that's the great bit, being out on the grass and being around your players and trying to get different setups for different oppositions. That's a really interesting bit that people obviously don't see. So I love it. I love it. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. And obviously at the minute it's going all right. So that definitely helps.
Yeah, I mean, from a on the pitch tactical perspective, I think I'm probably fair enough suggesting that what you actually have to do as a manager to set your team up to win, probably you just cannot be ready for that before you've actually before you've been the gaffer in the dugout, because the way that your team looks now, and so well drilled and so smart out of possession and ways of hurting teams in many different settings and against different setups. But the team I saw play, I think it was Gills on opening day of your first season, where keeper was playing 150 passes, and it's funny because I think the shape was pretty similar, like in terms of like if you're just putting it on paper, but the way that the team played was very different. And so you've adapted a lot to find a winning team, and like so much talk about playing philosophies, and everyone wants to know what sort of system and style a manager plays, but unless you adapt to find a way to win, none of that, I guess, really matters very much. But is it kind of funny to look back now and be like, God, what I thought I knew, what I thought I was going to do?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I've learned so much about the league, about the club that I work for, about myself. Like, yeah, I did have maybe an idealist way that I thought I needed to go about it when I first went in, and um, what I think about that now is completely different due to a number of things. It sort of, I don't, I just don't want my goalie to have the most touches on the pitch. I never did really, but
Yeah,
obviously he
yeah.
was, you know, part of that. But there was no appetite for that type of football at the club that I was at as well. That's something that I didn't realise and had to learn. Um, and I, I would have got if I'd have carried on doing that, I would have got that. That's just the fact of life. I had to find because we wasn't winning doing it, so I had to find a different way to try and win and just involve the team. I didn't want to be an out of work manager with a great philosophy. I wanted to be an in work manager, So
And
um,
what's really sexy, as much as possession might be sexy and nice goals can be very sexy. Clean sheets are really sexy when you realise that that's what gives you points and that's what gives you success, at the heart of it.
exactly. Like, listen, I grew up on 1-0 to the Arsenal. You know, watch watch my teams watch my team clean sheet their way to the title. And I dream of that day again. So, yeah, for me, all the best teams built on defensive stability. I think, um, and that has to be the main starting point, and then you build from there. That would be if I had a philosophy, and I don't particularly believe in that word as such, but that would be it. Having that solid foundation, and then just try and add layers around that, and that's what we're doing now. We're just trying to evolve the team, but still that needs to be the core of it. Hard to beat, defensively solid.
And last one, just off the pitch in terms of like the man management side, managing the dressing room and individuals. You come from a long playing career, lots of different levels, lots of different dressing rooms, and you're an outgoing guy. So I feel like on that side of things, it's not hard to imagine you kind of connecting with players. How much have you? But do you have to kind of work out how close to be with the players or how distant to be with the players and things of that nature? I remember, and I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, I don't think you will, is that when I saw you after the playoff final and I said, God, you went in the dressing room afterwards, like, what did you say to the players? What was your big speech, like triumphant speech that you'd won promotion? And you went, I didn't need to say anything. Like, that's not how I see my role as some like, I am God and I'm going to say like how wonderful we all are and how great I am. You were just like, we just wanted to start celebrating because we achieved something all together. And I thought that was really interesting because I'm the type of bloke that would have given it big guns in the dressing room. I'm pretty confident of that.
Yeah, but sometimes that can be self-indulgent, can't it? The camera's there, and they might be filming this, but yeah, I'm outgoing, but I'm not like too bothered about stuff like that. Like my players, they've been through so much that season and given me everything, and I just wanted them to just have a party,
Yeah,
enjoy it,
yeah,
have a beer, do what you want, like go crazy. These are the times of your life, like the moments of your life when that happens. They don't even sat down listening to me, give them, I've done that before the game to motivate them, and they've gone. They're the ones who have to go and walk the walk. I wanted to go sit down. It's boring, but sit out at the back with my staff, who, by the way, are there every step of the way of you as well. So important that you recognise that with them and sit down and have a beer and just uh just say a moment. But it's about like, yeah, I've got personal ambitions, and we've all got egos, right? We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't. But it is about the players. It's about what they do over the line. You're there to try and help them and turn them into, a good team. But you can't do nothing without them, and getting their buy-in and just sort of tying it in with the man management, getting them to believe in what you're doing and what you're telling them is the most important thing. Even if even if it's not the best, they just need to believe what you're telling them, whether that's right or wrong. So, and yeah, and just gaining their trust, um, treating them like just getting a load of good lads really together and trying to get the best out of them.
Well, thank you, mate. Really, really fun chatting football with you and having a look at a decent weekend for AFC Wimbledon and a very entertaining weekend in League One in general. So it's a good league to be a part of.
Cheers, Ali. Thanks for having us, mate.
All right, go out.